You're watching SWR10, and in this video we take a look at the Sony Smartband, which is a fitness tracker with additional features such as options to notify you on calls, messages, and can interact with other applications on your smartphone. Let's start off with what you get in the box. In the box you get the tracker, which Sony have called the core unit, and then you also have a black plastic band, which you will use to place the device into later on. If you take this part out, you will see underneath here is another band but smaller than the other one, to ensure at least one will fit your arm correctly. If you choose to use the smaller band to attach it, you will have to take off the Sony pin from the other band, as you can see here. Then also in the box is a small micro USB adapter for charging or connecting to a computer, and a very basic set of instructions. If we look at these instructions, this is very basic. It will help you get started with charging and syncing, but it will not tell you anything else, such as requirements needed for it to work on your phone, what shortcodes you can press to change the music. What happens is once you sync it up to your phone, the help and support becomes accessible to you once you connect, but you have to be connected to the internet on your paired device. While this is a fairly straightforward method, we cannot assume that everyone is familiar with using and connecting to an NFC connection. So for that reason, the next part of this review we will show you how to set it up. If you don't need to see this part, you can skip to different sections of the review in the descriptions below. First thing, you will need an Android phone with an NFC connection and running Android 4.4 or above. You will have to set up an account on Lifelog. You can sign up using your Google account or your Sony Entertainment account. You will need to be able to access the internet from your phone. It does not need to be on all the time, but this is required to get started and to sync up your data for the day. The band will work with non-Sony phones, but I have not tested them out myself. The phone I have tested the device out with was with the Sony Xperia E3, which is the phone we will show in this video. If you want to see our review of the Xperia E3, the links are also in the descriptions below. Before starting, you want to charge up the core unit. To do this, connect your micro USB adapter here and the other end either into a USB slot on the computer or in a USB power supply. This takes around 30 minutes and will give you around 4 to 5 days of use. The lights will stop flashing when it is fully charged. Next, turn on NFC on the phone you want to sync up with, which on Sony devices is normally found in settings under wireless and networks. Click more and tick NFC. This icon is the NFC logo, and you want to align it with the same matching symbol on both devices while pressing this button on the core unit for 5 seconds. Once it connects, if your phone is not on silent, you will hear a notification. That means it is syncing. The first time you do this, it will take you to the Play Store to download the two apps needed for getting everything to work, the Smartband app and the Sony Lifelog app. It will also update your band to the latest version of firmware if it currently does not have it. Once everything is installed, you can place the unit into the band, like this, so the button is in line with this part of the band and you can see the Sony logo. This is so when you press the button, you can see the lights clearly. Once you have done that, everything is set up and it will now start tracking your movement. Next, let's take a look at the features and options you have in the Smartband application. This will show you how many days of battery life you have on your device. Underneath that is settings for auto night mode. I will get into the different modes later on in the video. Turn notifications on, which will make the band vibrate when you get a notification. Smart wake up, which will vibrate when you are in a light sleep. This is based on the amount of movement you are doing during sleep and in night mode. Alarm mode, out of range alert. It will vibrate 3 times when you are out of range of your phone. This happens a lot if you leave it in a room and go downstairs, or leave it in a locker while at the gym but still have the band on. It will still track your movement when out of range. Then incoming call and applications shows you installed apps that can be used with the band and recommended applications that also can be used with it. Then lastly, if you go back to the main menu, this is the online usage guide, which takes you to the Sony website to find your product to get further help, and going back into the Smartband app in settings is usage tips. This is what I mentioned earlier. This is where you get basic tips on using the band's modes. If you hold down the button, it will vibrate and then it will switch to night mode from day mode, and if you press it again, it will go back to day mode from night mode. It tells you what mode you're in here. All day mode does is track your movement and sends notifications to the band based on vibrations. Night mode then turns off call and all notifications. It will then start to track your sleep based on how much you move. Then media player mode, you have to first choose to go into your movie or music player, and once it is opened, you press the band once and then all 3 lights will light up. You then tap the top of the band and it will either start playing the current video or music loaded, or it will pause if it is already playing. All lights have to be lit for it to work, so if they go off, you'll need to press it again, and then if you tap twice, it will go to previous track, or tap 3 times and it goes to the next track. There is a bit of a delay and it does not always work correctly for me. Now the Lifelog application. This is where you can see how much activity you have done for the day. You will need to set up your account first to get started. Then this chart shows you your current time, and underneath tells you the amount of each you have done so far for the day. What it tracks is bookmarks, which you can set yourself. You write a note like you are having a meal at your friend's, how many calories you have burned based on movement, the amount of steps, how many minutes of walking, running, sleeping, cycling, traveling, connected to social media, how many videos and photos, music, video, apps, books and internet browsing you have done. If you click this, it will show you where you have been. This option can be turned on and off in settings. Select logger and you can toggle location history and other settings here. Then this play button, once pressed, it will play out your day so far with little animation when you have been walking or traveling. This is now my review of the device, going over my personal experience with the band after using it for over a week. Based on first impressions, I did not get off to a great start with the device. While the box and layout is to create a simple, straightforward experience, there is very little information to help you get started. I normally can figure things out myself, and I did with this, but I can see where it might be complicated or a bit fiddly for others. I started testing this out at night, so there was nothing really to track. I set it to night mode, kept everything connected like Bluetooth, but turned internet off. It failed to track me as sleeping apart from a 5-minute period in the morning on the first night. Then the next day, it did pick up my steps and the amount of time I was on YouTube, interacting with Facebook, Instagram and Chrome browser. It did not track interaction with the FM radio. The Lifelog will not update your actions unless you are connected to the internet. I first came across this when I lost connection to the internet outside. I took 8 pictures and it said please connect for a more accurate result. I pressed refresh and it still did not show anything I did. So once the internet came back on, I refreshed again and it brought in all the steps and photos I took during that period. Then the next 2 nights, it then started to track my sleep. I tested it differently each night. The first night just with Bluetooth, the second Bluetooth and internet, and then I tested on the 3rd night with the phone completely switched off. It tracked the sleep in each of these alterations, but with the internet on, it will use aquaweather.com to show you things like rain on your head while you're in bed if it was raining during the night in your location. I did the same thing during the daytime. I travelled with the internet on a few days and then with it off a few days. It still managed to work out I was travelling with it all off, but it was not very accurate because it thought I was cycling when I was just walking rather quickly, and it worked out I went somewhere in a vehicle, but it did not track me using it to get home. With the internet and location tracking on, it works this out better, but even with it on, it is not always accurate. I was in a vehicle for 40 minutes and it tracked it as 26 minutes both there and back, which was not the case. So with that being inaccurate, I was not sure if the amount of calories it said I burn or steps I take was right either. It said I burned 2,534 calories on my most active day, of over an hour of walking, around 9,000 steps, but then on a day at home, it was still around 2,000 calories burned, with no hours of walking but still 1,546 steps, and it shows a lot of calories burnt while I'm asleep. This is great for someone who does a lot of running, walking, or if you want to get a good visual of how you spend your day. The bad points though is once you get this idea, the buzz of it does wear off after the first week and it is not entirely accurate. It is more of an estimate of what you are doing. This would not be the best device to go for if you can't or don't like to be connected to the web or have data usage, Bluetooth and location settings on all the time. I did not like having to keep the band on while sleeping, it just was not something that I am used to. I prefer to get rid of watches, jewellery and switch my phone off in the evenings, so I know that it would not be ideal for my lifestyle, but I had no problems with using it for tracking my day-to-day use. The other last point was the amount of help and information Sony gives you with setting this up, and you don't get a clear enough picture of what you are getting before you buy. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, let us know in the comments section. If you want to watch more, check out our review of the Sony NFC tags, which is also a first-party Sony accessory that makes use of the NFC connection, or our review of the Xperia E3, which is the phone we used in the review you just watched. You can click on the video you want to watch using annotations or in the links in the description.